On behalf of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, welcome to the media launch of the 2020 Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race. I can't tell you how pleased we are to have you here this morning after this crazy year. My name's David Kellett. I've been around these halls for many a year. I'm a past commodore of the club, life member, and have participated in 46 races. This year I had the honour of being the chairman of the race committee, or race director. But more importantly, I'm privileged to be your MC this morning. With us today is the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club, Noel Cornish, and Mr. Patrick Battaglia from our great sponsor Rolex, and a distinguished panel of sailors. I'll introduce them to you. We have Sub-Lieutenant Max Alexander from the Army Yacht Gunrunner, Christian Beck, the owner of the Super Maxi Infotrack, Wendy Tuck, co-skipper of Speedwell, Matt Allen, owner of two-time Tattersall Cup winner Ichi, and Rupert Henry, the owner of Burning Palms. Today is the official start of the countdown for one of Australia's greatest sporting icons, which we will again take centre stage around the world. Revered as one of the toughest ocean races, it began in 1945 when a cruise to Hobart became a race among friends from this club. It now gives me pleasure to welcome Commodore Noel Cornish to officially welcome you to this media launch. Thanks, Commodore.
Thank you, David. Look, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia today for the launch of the 2020 Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. The CYCA is delighted to announce there are 89 entries for this, the 76th running of our famous race. Despite an extremely challenging year due to COVID-19 and the subsequent absence of international competitors, the number has exceeded all our expectations. 2 Supermaxis will return this year to do battle for Lion Honours and the J.H. Illingworth Trophy, with a number of other yachts expected to be chasing them down the coastline and across the paddock. Great interest will be in the competition for the Tattersall Cup, awarded to the best boat overall on a handicap over the 628 nautical mile race. As always, there is a diverse group of yachts with the ability to win this distinction, a testament to the good boat preparation and crew work and weather management, navigation and tactics that goes into being successful in this event. We are also proud to announce the introduction of a two-handed division this year to compete for a new perpetual trophy. There has been increasing focus on this facet of sailing around the globe in recent years ahead of its introduction in the 2024 Paris Olympics, and we very much look forward to its ongoing growth within Rolex Sydney Hobart. There are a number of other races within the race, with trophies being awarded to divisional winners and for the armed services. Competition has always been fierce for the York Family Corinthian Trophy, awarded to the PHS Corinthian winner, and for the Graham Frizzle Freeman Memorial Trophy, awarded to the IRC Corinthian winner. David Kellett, our race committee chair and MC, was recently awarded life membership of Australian Sailing. Will be able to speak to you in more detail about the race prospects shortly. Over the years, the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia has formed a very strong partnership with Rolex, the naming rights sponsor of our race since 2002. Once again, we warmly thank Rolex and welcome Patrick Cotillier, General Manager of Rolex Australia, who is with us here today. Thank you, Patrick. Rolex will once again provide 2 Rolex Yachtmaster timepieces. One will be awarded for the Lion Honours winner and the other to the overall race winner. The Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race is an event of international significance, and we would like to acknowledge the many other stakeholders who help us with the organisation of it. I particularly acknowledge the state governments of New South Wales and Tasmania for the support they provide through their various agencies, including the Department of Premier and Cabinet, Transport, Roads and Maritime, Ports, Police, National Parks and Tourism. We also appreciate the support of local councils in both states. I would like to take this opportunity to recognise the many volunteers at the CYCA and the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania and thank them for their dedication to both our clubs and to the race. And a special thanks to the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania for their unwavering support as the race finishing partner since 1945. The Cruising Yacht Club of Australia and its partners are committed to ensuring a COVID-safe event in 2020, with the health and well-being of all participants, friends, family and the broader community our number one focus. Accordingly, significant changes have been made at the club this year, and there will be restrictions imposed regarding access to the club and the marina on Boxing Day. The race village in Hobart will be closed to the general public, and further details will be published in early December. You can follow the start of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race live on 7 Network throughout Australia and live and on demand on the 7 Plus app. For ongoing news, updates, standings and race tracking, check out rolexsydneyhobart.com and its associated social media platforms. Before I leave you with our MC, David, I would like to thank you, the media, who continue to support our special race, and especially through these difficult times. We sincerely appreciate your ongoing commitment. I look forward to sharing with you what is sure to be another enthralling Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. Thank you.
Thank you, Commodore. This year, we're celebrating 75 years of women competing in the great race. Names such as Adrian Cahalan, the only woman to have sailed a milestone 25 races, will sail in her 29th Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht race this year aboard Whisper, while Felicity Nelson will sail her 25th race aboard Arch Rival. And of course, Clipper Round the World race winner, here with us today, skipper Wendy Tuck, will sail her 14th aboard the Speedwell. Speedwell's a Beneteau 34, it's the second smallest boat in the fleet, and Wendy will co-skipper that with Campbell Greaves in the inaugural two-handed division. And just for reference, the boat is moored in the pond and will be available for a photo opportunity with Wendy after the launch. The honour of firing the starting cannon in 2020 belongs to Bruce Gould, who 50 years ago was a crew member aboard the 1970 winner Pasha. Gouldy was also aboard with me in Sovereign when we took the line on as handicap double in 1986. He's an old bugger like me. As a tribute to the 75 years of women competing in the race, two Rolex Sydney Hobart stalwarts will fire the 10-minute and 5-minute gun. Vanessa Dudley has competed in 23 races, including finishing second in 2018 when Wild Oats 10 was sailed by an all-woman crew. She'll fire the 5-minute gun, and Gail Harlan, who has sailed 22 races, including a win on First National in 2003, will fire the 10-minute cannon. As the Commodore said, we have 89 yachts this year, which is a great credit to the owners. And some of the highlights this year will include the two-handed division for the first time. We have a very strong field for overall honours for the Tattersalls Cup, including many past winners. I noticed Matt Allen over there eyeing that Rolex. He's going to wear 3.
That's right.
We also have 2 Super Maxis who have both taken line on us with previous owners in past years. We have a couple of classic vintage yachts. Annie Lawrence and John Whitfeld have Solvig in the race. She was built in 1950 by the Halverson brothers and had an enviable record of line honours and overall wins in her history in the race. Another vintage yacht is Kellett 2, which in 1971 took line honours when owned by American Jim Kilroy. Since 2017, she has been owned and lovingly restored by brothers Patrick and Keith Broughton. And both of those yachts are a credit to their owners for the restoration they've given them. People from all walks of life come and compete in the Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race. Corinthians and novices pit themselves against some of the greatest of the race, along with Olympians, America's Cup sailors, round the world sailors, all racing on an even playing field. And this year we're ready for some thrilling battles. Last year we had 5 Super Maxis, which kept us enthralled as they tussled up the river for line honours, Comanche, eventually the victor. This time, 2 past line honours contenders, one that held a race record, returned in the form of Christian Beck's Infotrack and Peter Harburg's Blackjack. In 2009, Blackjack, sailing as Alfa Romeo, took line honours, while Infotrack, sailing as Perpetual Loyal, took line honours on the race record in 2016. But Infotrack was well sailed last year and finished second to Comanche. We have some other yachts that are not quite the super maxi size, but in the 80 to 90 foot range. And one of those is Beau Jest, which is now renamed Thunderstruck. She's owned by Grant Warrington, who used to have the Maxi Scandia and various other names over a period of 10 years or more. She's now owned by Grant with Paul Hayes, Adrian Seifert and Doug Salas. Maserati is also returning. She's a Volvo 70 owned by Jim Cooney, who had Comanche in last year's race. He'll also be pushing hard against the larger rivals. Her near sister ship, Giacomo, finished second over the line and won the race overall. So who knows what might happen this year. Other highlights will again be the TP52s, all capable of winning the Tattersalls Cup. Can Matt Allen become the third owner in the history of the race to win the Tattersalls Cup with the same yacht 3 times? There's also strong competition in the 40 foot range, including Tasmanian Greg Pescott in his modified FAR 42 Unlimited. And as mentioned, the two-handed division has been created with a separate line honours and overall trophy. I'm sure Rupert Henry is one of the favourites for line honours, while Wendy Tuck will be vying for the IRC overall trophy. We've also got a number of new yachts in the race, one of which is an 11.98 metre Italia designed boat with Mark Hillier called Cicero. She was only launched in May. You've probably heard enough from me, so we'll now go to the panel and I'll ask them a couple of questions, and then there'll be an opportunity for you to ask the panel any questions that you like. We'll start on this end of with Max. Max is the second mate on the smallest boat in the fleet at 9.2 metres, and the Army uses the boat to train its personnel and teaches the Army values of courage, initiative, respect and teamwork. I'm not quite sure how a Navy lieutenant sails on an Army boat, but I'm sure Max will be able to tell us that.
Yeah, well, I'm very lucky that I got chosen to come and do this. The story behind why I'm doing the Hobart with the Army team is that there were 2 members who couldn't get leave because they're helicopter pilots, and they're on standby for emergency assistance over Christmas and couldn't get the time off to do the Hobart. So that's why I got pulled in.
Good duty.
Yes, yeah, there are worse duties to have.
Yeah. I must say, Max, you guys must get the biggest bang for the buck for the money you invest. You're out there about 3 times as long as the Maxi owners. But how hard is it when everyone's tucked up in Hobart and you're still pushing along out there?
Well, it's great because then it's all to ourselves. There's no one to crash into. And only stern lights to chase, but hopefully not this year.
Max was aboard Gunrunner in 2018 when they were 4th in their division and won the Corinthian Trophy. So you think you can repeat that again, Max?
Definitely. I think Navy will have a run for their money as well this year.
Very good. Might switch to the other end of the table and Rupert. Rupert Henry has 5 Rolex Sydney Hobarts behind him, and he's chosen to sail in the inaugural two-handed division. Rupert and Greg O'Shea won the 5,500 nautical mile Melbourne-Osaka double-handed race in 2018 with Rupert's previous boat, Chinese Whisper, and they've paired up again. Rupert, you must be pleased that we have a two-handed division finally in the Rolex Sydney Hobart race.
Really excited about it, David. big part of the sport internationally, and the fact that the club and Rolex Hobart races included it this year is exciting and progressing for yachting in Australia.
Good. I actually saw with Greg O'Shea a few years ago. He's a great bloke, and your partnership obviously works very well, and the success in the Osaka race. And what's the secret? And what's the thrill of the double-handed racing?
Well, the secret to good teamwork is to expect arguments and crosswords, which the tighter you get, the more they happen, but you have to treat those as like water off a duck's back. And but the thrill of two-handed racing or single-handed racing is you get to do everything. You're always busy, and it's non-stop. It's fully engaging.
Right. And I know you've sailed many thousands of miles in the boat with family and friends, and she's a beautiful, luxuriously fitted out yacht. Can you tell us a little about the boat?
Yeah, well, Birmingham Mines is a J-boats, J65, so yeah, like you say, it's a fast cruising boat. I'm in between full-on racing boats at the moment, so we decided to enter it in this year's race, and yeah, it gets along all right. Yeah.
Very good. And have you got any other two-handed events in mind?
Well, actually we do. We're in the process of building what's called a Class 40 at the moment, which is a huge class. It's like a small version of the Mocha 60s. So we're planning on launching that next year. We're going to compete in the two-handed Transat Jacques Vabre, which is a 6,000 mile race from France down to Brazil. That's on in a year's time.
Fabulous. Good luck to you. I think I'll stick to the 628 nautical miles from Hobart. Wendy. 14th Hobart is the only woman to win an around the world race, and has been guest skipper of the Maiden Factor Foundation's global voyage in 2018, skippering a boat from halfway around the world. As we've said, Wendy is sailing in the inaugural two-handed division on the second smallest boat in the fleet, Speedwell. How did all this come about, Wendy?
I wanted to get into two-handed sailing for quite a while. I always like a bit of an adventure, and I thought that's the next step after what I've done in the past. And I was out sailing on Speedwell on a winter series from CYCA, and talking to Campbell, who's been a friend of mine for 20 years, and we just both started agreeing, yeah, it'd be a great thing to do, thinking, well, it'd be great if you had a boat, when luckily for us, Campbell's father said, you're standing on one, why don't you take this one? So that's how we got involved with it, and getting the boat ready is a big task, but we're pretty happy at the moment.
Excellent. So, second smallest boat in the fleet?
Yeah, it's a big step back. I've got to stop walking after 33 foot, otherwise I'm going to get very wet.
Yeah, you know, the gun runner, you'll be battling it out.
Yep.
I think this year is a significant year with the 75th anniversary of women competing in the race. And I think they've certainly come a long way from Jane Tate and Dagmar O'Brien, who competed back then in the early years. Must have been very different for them, and have they inspired women, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, especially back in those days, as you said, things were completely different. There's been a lot of trailblazers. I mean, you mentioned them all this morning with Vanessa, Adrian and Gail, and then you get people like Kate Cotty. She was the idol I looked up to when I first got into sailing. You know, she sailed around the world by herself non-stop, first woman to do it. So there has been a lot of trailblazers, it's nice to have those role models to look up to.
Very good, thank you, Wendy. We'll move on to perhaps Matt. Matt Allen, the owner of Ichi is the reigning overall champion of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart. Matt's a past President of Australian Sailing, past Commodore of the CYC. He won the 75th race on his 30th race. He also won the race with Ichi in 2017 and has a long list of victories with this remarkable boat, including winning her division in the Australian Sailing Championships for a 3rd year in a row last January. Can she be the 3rd boat to win 3 Sydney Hobart races, mate?
Sounds like you're putting the moz on us already, but look, it's
early.
It's a great challenge. I mean, no boat's either gone back-to-back wins since Freya in 1965, so it's an enormous challenge for us and the crew to really get the boat ready. Obviously, it's been a difficult winter break for everybody. People haven't done as much sailing as in previous years. There's a lot of pressure on us. We quite enjoy the pressure and making sure that we can, improve the boat's performance year on year as much as we can. But we know in this year's race, like any year, you've got to beat the boats around you, and around that sort of 50 to probably 70 foot mark, you've got some of the best boats that you'll find anywhere in the world. So you've got to beat all those boats around you, and obviously then the weather gods need to be kind to you. And we all know going to Storm Bay and the Derwent, it can be a real challenge each year. You might be looking good at Tasman Island, but you don't look very good because you've been becalmed in Storm Bay or the Derwent for a number of hours. So you need a bit of everything and leaving nothing to chance. So we'll see how we go, and we'll give it the best shot possible. Can I also say it's been an incredible result to get 89 entries today. It's, I think, the confidence of the club, the confidence of Rolex, and also the confidence of the Tasmanian and New South Wales governments to get a fleet that's probably twice the size, if not more, of what we were probably thinking some months ago. So it's a terrific reflection to the club and Rolex and everyone involved to get the fleet to this stage, and it's, I think, very exciting for this year's race.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm sure you, with the other TP52s, you're going to have a heck of a competition. Quest was ended, and she's a 2-time winner. Whalo, who finished 2nd to you last year, and sailing pretty well at the moment. So it'll be very interesting to watch. And finally, with our panel, Christian Beck. Christian made his Rolex Sydney Hobart debut in 2017, finishing 4th over the line, inside the old 2012 race record. Christian, who was named Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 2017, returned to the race in 2018 and finished a close 4th over the line after a protracted close battle with the other Maxis Wild Oats Blackjack Comanche. In last year's 75th race, Infotrack finished a very creditable 2nd over the line, just 44 minutes behind Comanche. Christian, how do you feel your quest will go this year?
Well, I think we're very happy. The odds are probably better than we've ever had before, I think, so we're looking forward to it.
I'm sure it'll be a great battle with Blackjack. Just got to watch your navigator. That's my son.
He's actually the skipper on your sheet, by the way.
Is he? You can't afford it.
Send in the bills.
That's an oversight. Yeah, Brad's a rear commodore of the club and navigated Infotrack last year, so he's back in harness again, and they're preparing the boat as we speak. I'm sure that it's probably been a hard year with the COVID this year to get the boat prepared and organised and crew and so forth.
Yeah, sure.
All of that with us.
Oh, I think it's definitely been challenging. Like, we had a lot of problems with COVID, like most people. But I think that there is a cohort of professional sailors out there that didn't have a lot to do for 2 months there, but we're very happy that we could do it. And I think that, yeah, we're very excited to be here. It's sort of, it's a good way to hopefully get out of COVID or something like this.
Very good. Thank you, Christian. Any changes to it, or you haven't really had time to
No,
change?
with COVID, we only just decided to go in a race probably a month or two ago. And yeah, we were really cost cutting most of the year. We had up in Newcastle for a long time, as you know. So we were really thinking things were bad in March, April, like most people. And we've just really quickly just put it all back together and got ready for the race.
Terrific. I'm glad you're there. Well, thank you to our panel. That's all the questions I have, and we'll open the floor if you could just pop your hand up and ask any questions if you wish.
Christian, a number of the other Supermaxis aren't entering the race this year. How confident are you of taking out that line orders with a reduced field?
Well, I think if you look at Blackjack, if you look at the numbers, we've raced each other the last 3 years. They've won 2, we've won 1. I think they're a better boat than ours. I'd have to swap their boat for ours. But what I'd probably say is that we're on a good trajectory. I think we came 24th the first time, 4th 2 years ago, 2nd last year. And I think if anything, our crew is very good. We're not taking anything away from Blackjack's crew, but the crew we've got has been great. It's a little bit affected by international travel. Like a lot of the people we've had in past years who've been probably involved around world races couldn't get here. So we've changed our crew mix, but we've still got the same core team.
So you're trying to claim underdog status and put the pressure on them, is that right?
Look, I think if I was putting a bet on, I would put a bet on them before us. We've probably got a chance of being first out of the heads like last year, but to win the overall race, I'd rather be in their shoes than ours.
Can you just explain more about obviously the limitation on crews and the people that you've actually got available to select? How difficult it has been to get a crew that, you know, can be challenging and up there and the Woombook's correct?
Sure. Look, our theory over the last few years has been to have as many Volvo around the world ocean races as possible on the boat, because those sort of guys are used to doing like 6,000 mile legs across the Southern Ocean. So to them, a Sydney or Hobart's just an overnighter, it's very easy. So we try to get as many as we can, but they're generally all around the world. So flying them to Australia is proving to be largely impossible. We do have Tony Mutter, who really is running the boat. He's probably the skipper, you could say, but he will arrive in Australia soon, and we've got him. We've had to we had a few Spaniards and various other people at the bow, etc. last year that we just don't have. So we've got obviously local people who are very good, but it's not as proven as it was the previous 2 years.
So you still got to have crew that have to go through quarantine before you can even get them involved in the boat as yet, is it?
Well, Tony Mutter, I think, doesn't need to for New Zealand. We haven't got anyone overseas outside New Zealand.
Christian, just on last year as well, I mean, how much confidence did that give you that potentially this could be the year?
Look, I think the odds are improving for us each year, I believe. I mean, we've done better each year. I think the first year we forgot to put our form in at the end and got a 20-place penalty, probably indicated where we're at in the first year. And coming second last year indicated that was a big transition. So I think that we're feeling better and better. I mean, the boat, we haven't done a lot to the boat, but the boat kind of has its moments and can do very well. It's in certain conditions, it's definitely unbeatable. It does depend a bit on how much those conditions we get, but we're feeling very good.
And just on those conditions as well, I mean, last year sort of told you that if the conditions are right and everything's perfect, you know, potentially this could be your year.
That's right. I mean, last year we handled it very differently. We had Comanche, which is a better boat than us in every way. So we would always do the different to them. If they went out wide, we'd stay in close, just because we knew that if we followed them, we'd lose. So we don't have to do that this year. We can race what we think is the best course. And I think the odds of winning are better than ever, for a range of factors, but probably more than anything, the number of time that the core people have been on that boat.
is there any worry that, you know, last minute while those might change their mind and comments to it?
Look, we always worry about Lidos, and it's a shame they're not here, but I think that, look, it'd be good for them to come so that we wouldn't worry us over. We beat them last year, so we're not, they don't petrify us.
Question for Matt. On the TP52s, once you've got your spinnakers up, you tend to put your crew all the way back on the boat to keep the nose out. How does that square with social distance?
Well, it's a good question, Dave. Yeah, look, it's an issue. I mean, we've obviously got a situation where, you know, you're in close quarters. We don't have many people down below. You don't really get much sleep on the way to Hobart, and you know, our COVID protocols are still being developed. We've luckily got one of Australia's experts, as it turned out, on our crew, Dr. James Patterson, and so we'll be taking advice on how to manage that from his being one of the leading experts in Australia.
Hand washing at every change of watch?
Yeah, there's certainly protocols that we're putting in place, you know, so we're not sharing, any utensils, things like that. So, but we'll obviously make assessments as we get closer to the races to what is actually the situation on COVID-19 throughout Australia. We've got crew from Queensland, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, and one crew member from New Zealand. So, yeah, we've got to take that into account as well.
Wendy, for you, 14th Hobart, it's 628 nautical miles, it's grueling, it's tough. How does it compare though with around the world race?
I guess it's just that mental attitude as well. When I've sailed around the world, it's not a non-stop race, it's legs. So I would have been, quite frankly, terrified thinking, holy hell, I'm about to sail around the world with people that haven't got much experience. So I just broke it down to, okay, I'm just sailing to Rio this first leg, or to where else I've been. So it's breaking it down and keeping those small chunk size makes it a lot easier and manageable. So it's a little bit harder with the Hobart race because I'm on a smaller boat. It's going to seem a lot longer. So it's getting around that. You've got to have that attitude. This is how long it's going to take, and if we finish earlier than that, that's awesome. But you've got to have that time span, and it takes you, on an ocean crossing, it takes you at least 5 days to get in the groove of the boat. In a Hobart race, you've got to try and get into that groove in the boat so much quicker, because by the time you get there, you're in the groove and you finish. So it's just that mental preparation, I think, is really important.
And why, with all that experience under your belt, would you opt just to have two of you this time?
I'm starting to ask myself that now. It's just another challenge, I like pushing myself and pushing those boundaries, and I have wanted to get into two-handed sailing for a long time, and we've got the opportunity now that we can do that race, two-handed to Hobart is awesome. So I want to jump and support that, and we got the opportunity, and it's something I've wanted to do for years, so very happy.
Could you tell us what are the additional challenges of sailing two-handed compared to the larger crew?
The additional challenges are probably looking after yourself. I mean, Rupert will have a lot more experience in this than I. I've done a lot of two-handed sailing deliveries, up and down the coast. Is preparing yourself. We tend to push ourselves a bit hard, thinking, okay, it's a short race, so I'm going to push hard, and maybe I'm not going to sleep now when I should. I let my sailing partner sleep. We're going to have to be aware of that, because every change we do, we're both going to have to be up on deck. So it's all fine me saying, okay, I can go 5 hours without sleeping, but then if something goes wrong, that easily burst out to 10 hours before I get to sleep, which is not doable. So it's just that keeping an eye on the weather and looking after each other as well. So that's going to be the big thing, saying, okay, look, I do need to have rest now, and I'm going to take it, and just watching out for your partner as well.
And you have to have a stronger bond with that person, better understanding of how each other work.
Yeah, I think so. You need to know each other's strengths and weaknesses. We've been friends for 20 years. We've sailed a lot together over the years on and off. So being aware of that, we actually did our first Hobart together, which was we just talked about the other day. So being aware of each other's strengths and weaknesses is an important part as well. And as Rupert said, there's going to be those words where you say, this isn't me talking, this is the tiredness talking. I made up this new word, there's that, what is it, hangry? I made slangry when you're sleepy, hungry, angry. So I think there's going to be, and I'm always hungry, that's going to happen quite a lot. So it's just got to be, okay, what I say now, I don't mean I'll apologise tomorrow, and I think I'm thinking straight again.
Very good. Any further questions? No? Very good. Well, thank you all for attending. Just before we close, there's a few housekeeping items that I've been asked to let you know by the media team. The panel members are available for one-on-one interviews once the official photos have been taken. And if you could organise with the media team so we follow the COVID guidelines. There'll be the photo opportunity down on Speedwell with Wendy and others. Media accreditation is open now and closes at 5 p.m. on Wednesday the 9th of December. Online application is available via the official website, and there's a link in the media section. Please do it as soon as possible. There's numbers in both media centre and our media votes will be restricted this year. The Sydney Media Centre opens at the CYCA from Friday the 16th of December in Hobart, and in Hobart, the Media Centre is again located at the Mawson Pavilion on Constitution Dock and opens on the 27th of December. We have official photographer Andrea Francolini here, and if you would like images to be sent, please see one of the media team. Please feel free to talk to the Commodore and any members of the panel. And in closing, may I reiterate the Commodore's thanks to you, the media, for continuing to support this wonderful race. It's much appreciated. And finally, thank you to Rolex for your continued support of this race and the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. So thank you all for coming. That's it.